Welcome to the Birdies podcast.
Dave, you've got that TV on in the background. You may have to minimize that sound.
Yeah.
Apparently, they don't like us using it. All right, Dave, I think you've had enough time to study for the test. I think everybody knows what time it is. It is time for the Birdies Fantasy Football podcast.
That's what this is.
Let's go. Let's get this thing going. You ready, Dave?
No, not really, but let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go. It's been, I talked to you like 5 minutes ago, right?
It's been 5 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, a minute ago.
And all of our ones of viewers are watching.
Yes, all of our single viewers.
Let's go. You said we were going to get into tens, though, right?
I didn't mean the viewers are single. I meant we have just single-digit viewers.
Let's go. And I'm single and ready to mingle, so here we are. Okay, well, welcome back to the Fore Birdies podcast. I don't know if you don't know us already, then I'm Alex. This is Dave, and we talk about anything from fantasy football, which we'll talk about tonight, heading into Week 8 of the NFL season, and we'll talk about golf. We'll talk about disc golf. Maybe these guys want to talk about disc golf now, and I can't stand the thing, to be honest. Maybe that'll be one of the things that I don't care if you don't like disc golf, and I don't like it, and anyway, I'm already starting to rant.
I think it's worth you telling the viewers why you don't like disc golf.
Not right now. No, we'll put a pin in it. We're here to talk fantasy football, Dave.
Real quick, I'm going to say to the viewers why I think you don't like disc golf is because you got a rash one time playing. I think you maybe were looking for a disc in the bushes and you got poison ivy. And so that ruined the experience for you. And now every time you think of disc golf, you get a little itchy, and not in a good way.
That definitely contributed to the experience, for sure. That definitely contributed, and the rash wouldn't go away. I had it for like 3 or 4 weeks. It started on my lower regions, to be quite honest, and I didn't know what it was, and it was not a good experience overall. So,
doesn't sound like something disc golf related. Sounds like something else.
Yeah, maybe pocket pool, one might say, but it wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't pocket pool. It was disc golf. I'm telling you.
Whatever you say.
Dave, good. Whatever I say is, let's talk about fantasy football and the Fore Birdies Fantasy Football League, because you're one of the founding members. I'm one of the founding members, and we just wrapped up week 7. How'd you do, Dave?
I started off the week thinking I was going to be 4-0 across my leagues, and I ended up going 2-2. So, not terrible, but a little disappointing that I got my hopes up at first. So the 2 leagues that I lost in were the Fore Birdies League and my other work league. So I needed those wins. It's a tough, tight playoff race, and I can't afford to lose anything. And I lost one game by 6 points because Brett Maher missed, I want to say, like 2 or 3 kicks, and he ended up getting cut after that game.
What?
So yeah, he's done. He's not on a roster anymore. So I got to find a new kicker, and lost by 6 points. That's a bummer. How about you? You won. You set the high score for Fore Birdies League.
Yeah,
right?
we'll put a pin in that just for another moment. I do want to say that you ate some humble pie. It sounds like you were. I know you're a bit prematurely victorious before the win, because Cassie even sent a little note back. She must have been playing you this week, and I think in the podcast you said that you're going to beat her.
I felt good about it. Yeah, I had a good team, and they just didn't show up. I think Austin Eckler got me like 4 or 5 points. So she didn't stomp me or anything. She beat me fair and square, but my team did not show up for the they all let me down pretty much. I'm going to be writing them letters soon.
Oh, okay. Good for you. Has anybody responded?
Congratulations to Cassie, though.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't want to be a sore loser. Good job, Cassie.
That's very nice, Dave. That's very thoughtful and humble. You ate the humble pie. That's what counts. You're going to come back next week stronger.
I don't think it's not like I bragged it up. I didn't talk any smack before, and I just said I felt good about our lineup. Yahoo projections wildly miscalculated how much I would win by, and in fact, I didn't win at all. I lost. So I blamed it on Yahoo, actually.
I know what you mean, and I think I might have done some bragging earlier this week as well. As you mentioned a couple minutes ago, that yes, I was indeed the high point winner of the week. And I know in some leagues, we might have talked about this, that they get some kind of skin, they get some kind of payment for winning that. And maybe we'll do that. We'll do this once we up the ante to 1,500. Then
I find it interesting that the first time you bring up a high score payout was right after you get the high score. Before that, you never mention anything.
well, statistically, we all have an equal shot of, we have to win it 1 week, right? You would think that every one of us has a chance to win it 1 week, but if you look at Justin, gives me another, he's got like 1,117 points, and the next person has like 10,000 or 1,000.
I'd have to look at that. Statistically, not every team even has a shot at cracking the top score or the high score for the week. So the fact that you got it, that's a long shot, right?
Yeah,
there.
it was,
No
baby. I'm
offense.
telling you,
But you're making moves. You're still staying in it. You just had the top score, and you just pulled off a couple big trades the last week. So you're not giving up.
no,
That's
I'm not.
admirable.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. I started off 0-3 and 1-1, 1-2 maybe, then lost one, and then won last week. So I'm 3-4, and it's I feel kind of like the Lions last year when they were 2-6 or 3-6. And, they won a couple games and they know that they can be in it. Now I'm running into a problem where I'm getting some good players and I'm not knowing exactly who I need to play. I'm looking at the weather. I'm looking at the little green number, to be honest. I'm looking at how many green numbers can I have next to a player's name that I'm starting.
Okay. You're looking for like the little green arrow pointing up and how many good matchups you got.
Yeah, well, specifically the little green number. Like if they're playing the league's worst ranked pass defense, and then, so they've got like a green 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right move to do. It is raining. Anyway, I digress, Dave. Dave, can I tell you about a sneaky move I made? We're talking about moves. We're talking about trades. Can I tell you about a sneaky move?
I want to hear about it.
Okay, I got a sneaky move. So I was, doing some work the other day, and I had to take a break, lunch, and just too much podcasting and homework I have to do. And then I took a break from that, and I checked my teams, I checked who was available, all that kind of stuff. And as I'm on there, I look up and I see on the TV that Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol. Like, I don't think anybody really knew that he was in protocol until that moment when I saw it on TV. And, obviously the Niners team did, and the league probably did. Teams might have, maybe they didn't. But it wasn't like it hadn't been on ESPN or First Take or anything like that. So I saw that he was in concussion protocol, and typically players don't come back and play the next week, so they're going to be out a week. So then, knowing that the Niners had, at one point, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and Sam Darnold, well, they know they have what they think is a great thing in Sam Darnold, and they don't know if they're necessarily going to miss a beat with him going in there. So I thought to myself, does anybody have Sam Darnold? Does anybody have this man on their team? And I looked it up, and sure enough, he was available. And I thought to myself, well, look at that. I know a 49ers fan who might just want to root for Sam Darnold this weekend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Assuming Brock Purdy's out, then I know one of them. You know one of them?
Can I guess who that is?
I'll give you one
I
guess.
think somebody that we both know, somebody that lives near you, somebody that's in our league.
Warmer.
Is it Sean?
Yeah, you're on fire.
Okay.
You are on fire, my friend.
So you took Sam Darnold knowing that Sean would want him.
Yeah, I even got video footage of when I went and talked to him about it. So here, we're going to turn it over to that right now. Take a look, and we'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Nobody likes you.
What do you mean?
Go away. Hang out in that hallway with the bad smelling fridge and the food.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what you did.
What'd I do?
Oh, it smells so bad out there. Yeah, let you go.
Okay, so I did get it. I really did. Yeah.
You know what's funny is one time you were like, Sean, here's a video of Harold saying he's scared of you. And then he said, yeah, you should be scared. But the video was actually him going, I'm going to kick Sean's ass. And he was like, hey, that's not what you told me he said. Just for reaction purposes, how did Sean react to this?
He laughed. He laughed. Jeremiah, when he watched that part of it with Harold, he's like, I was watching them and listening, and I thought it was him actually talking at first. And then I saw that his mouth wasn't matching up with the words, and
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, Harold sounds like a goofy guy.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get back into it. I know. It's a sneaky move. He first proposed a trade to me, or like maybe yesterday, and he wants to get Rashee Rice from me pretty badly. And it's looking like Rashee Rice might be, the number one wideout on the Chiefs right now. Any thoughts on that?
I think Rashee Rice, for a rookie, is doing great. He got off to kind of a slow start. He's been a little bit up and down as far as, the number of targets he's seen. But he's the one wide receiver on the Chiefs that I would want, besides Kelsey, who's not technically a receiver, but he would be the number 2 option in the passing game right now, I think. So, yeah, Rashee Rice, he's very valuable. I don't know, what is Sean offering you?
He first wanted Cortland Sutton straight up.
So he would give you Cortland Sutton for Rashee Rice.
Yeah, and if you look at the fan points, the points they put up fantasy-wise already, I think Sutton has 94 and Rice is about 74. So numbers-wise, it's a deal. I'm actually getting a deal if I take that. But like you're saying, did Rice get off to a slow start because he's a rookie, and what might happen?
I wouldn't take that trade if I were you. I wouldn't. I've got Cortland Sutton in the league, and it's hard to start him with confidence just because of how much of a mess the Broncos are right now, and you never know what kind of performance you're going to get out of Russell Wilson. So I'd hold on to Rashee Rice. Maybe if you do trade him, find somebody, find the owner who's got Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback.
Right.
And he's going to be more valuable to that owner. So I don't think that's a bad offer, Sutton for Rashee Rice, because Sutton has a track record of decent performance over the years, and Rashee Rice is an unknown rookie. But I think that Rashee Rice's ceiling is way higher than Sutton's. So I wouldn't do that trade. Sean's going to have to offer you a little bit more.
Oh, who else he might offer me?
I'd like to hear it.
His first trade, and I can show you a screenshot of this. It was Darrell Henderson for Rashee Rice.
That's not the worst trade I've ever heard of. But here's the thing. Actually, you bring up Darrell Henderson. I like him as a player. I don't know him as a person. I have him in my dynasty league. I drafted him like 4 years ago. He is my sit of the week right now, mainly because I think Sean McVay has some sort of issue with him. They used him last week. They gave him at least, I think he had 18 carries. That's a really good amount of touches for a running back that came in off of his couch, right? But I don't think they're going to give him any looks. I think McVay, is just to throw people off, is probably going to start Evans instead, or they're going to give more looks to Royce Freeman. I have trouble trusting Darrell Henderson.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him tomorrow. There's no rhyme or reason to how they're treating that guy. He did really well for them last year, and they let him loose just right off, out of the blue, and promoted Cam Akers, and then they got rid of Cam Akers. So, to sum up my thoughts, that's a bad trade. I wouldn't take that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were talking about him, and then you were saying that you would be surprised if he weren't on the team as well, and that was in the back of my mind. And then, I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to see what their performance has been. Well, Dave, you might be able to guess this one as well. I'll give you another couple guesses. How many points do you think he put up fantasy-wise week 1?
Rashee Rice?
No, Darrell Henderson.
So Darrell Henderson put up 0 points week 1.
Yeah, okay. What about week 2?
0 points week 2.
Okay, but what about week 3?
That's going to be 0 points also.
Right. Okay. I sorry not to beat a dead horse, but what about week 4
That was also 0 points.
and week 5,
0 points.
week 6?
0 points.
Yeah, I think we're starting to sense a team here. And then he gets 13.6 points. Week 7, Sean wants to sell high. He even talked to him on the phone today. Got a little bit of his strategy. He said, he just wants to sell a player high, and I don't blame him.
The Rams used Darrell Henderson last week. They might use him a little bit more, but once Kyron Williams comes back, it's really hard to trust that they're going to keep him on the team. And if they cut him, I think he's going to not be picked up by anyone, and he's going to go back to not having a job. So I don't know what it is about him. I don't know why he doesn't get any respect, but his performance on the field was pretty decent for the Rams last year. They cut him, and I think the Jags picked him up briefly, and then they cut him. He couldn't find a team. I don't know why. So that's a terrible trade. I wouldn't take it. Keep
Yeah.
Rashee Rice.
Thanks for nothing, Sean.
You're better off holding on to Rashee Rice than trading him for a sack of potatoes.
For like a couch potato, in other words.
Darrell Henderson is going to be back on the couch this year.
He will be.
I don't
literal and
want that to
figurative couch
happen.
potato.
I'm trying to be a realist here. It's just like I like the Lions, but I'm not going to get upset when they lose because I'm not going to be surprised by it. With Darrell Henderson, I'm ready to have him get cut, and I just have to make peace with the possibility that could happen.
Yeah. I mean, so long story short, I didn't take that one, and then he came back with the Cortland Sutton. And then, I wanted to try to give him Sam Darnold, and then he said he wants Rice really badly. And then I tried to put in Sam Darnold and Chark. I thought Chark hasn't been giving me great numbers. He had a couple good weeks. He had about 2 where I think he put up like 16 points and 18 points. But then finally, I wanted his tight end, and he wanted I wanted Jonnu Smith, and then because I've got Waller right now, and Waller's a little questionable, and I just need some tight end insurance. And so I wanted a decent tight end. I think he's put up like the 12th best points this year right now for tight ends. So that might be a decent pickup if I could give him Sam Darnold and DJ Chark. And so that's what I countered back with. And he thought it over, and then he pulled the trigger. So I thought that was a pretty decent trade.
Yeah, and so he just gave you Jonnu Smith, right?
Correct.
That was 2 for 1?
2 for 1, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think you came out ahead on that one because Sam Darnold is just going to be a 1-week guy. Brock Purdy is going to clear concussion protocol and come back next week, and Sam Darnold's going to go back to being the backup. So you basically gave up Chark for Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Chark's probably available in a lot of leagues, and Jonnu Smith is actually doing really great for a tight end right now, and that's a tough position to find someone who's performing. So I think you came out ahead on that one.
All right, let's go. Hustler's going to hustle, huh, Sean?
Let's go.
Let's
so
go.
Jonnu Smith is showing that the Falcons do know how to get a tight end involved. I don't know why they can't translate that success to Kyle Pitts.
It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. It's because he's a receiver. I don't even know why he bills himself as a tight end. Is he a good blocker?
I don't think Kyle Pitts is known for his blocking acumen. I think he's more of a wide receiver actually, as
Right.
far as his play style.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like the Falcons coach doesn't care about fantasy football, doesn't care about individual stats or anything like that. Speaking of which, we talked a little bit about Bijan Robinson last week, missing the game, essentially getting, I think, like a couple snaps and like 1 carry. So it might have been a migraine that he had.
Oh.
And so I think he told the Falcons that he wasn't feeling great the day before, and they did not disclose it on the injury report. And they said, "Oh, just suit up, and we'll see what happens." He didn't look like on the sidelines that he wasn't doing that great. He just was standing around. So that was just to reiterate our frustrations from last week. That was a tough situation. He's not a guy that you would ever think about sitting. They didn't give us any information about it. Even if they said he was suffering from an illness, okay, you're active.
Yeah.
If he's why not make him inactive? It would have been better for them to make him an inactive right before the game than to suit him up and then just have him sit there. So I think the league's still investigating what happened there.
Dave,
But I think that's
I think you're talking about sitting. I think you're leading us right into starts and sits, aren't you? That was the perfect segue. We're now into the starts and sits of the week, and Bijan's going to kick this baby off.
Yep. And so Bijan was never going to be anybody that you would sit. So that's just a frustrating experience because you don't have enough information to make a decision. So that's something that I think people are going to remember for a long time. And as far as bets go, there's probably a lot of people that lost money expecting him to have a good performance.
Yeah,
so that's going to be a terrible memory for people for a long time.
Yeah.
As far as starts and sits, I did say earlier that Darrell Henderson up against the Cowboys. I like Darrell Henderson. However, I feel like it would be too predictable to think that they're going to give him meaningful touches. It's just not going to happen. I'd be willing to bet that they give him like just a couple touches in the game just to frustrate us. So yeah, Darrell Henderson, sit of the week. If you've got other options out there, which you probably do, I would explore those other options. Continuing on with sits, this is not going to sound like a popular choice here, and I understand how it's going to sound, right? Dante Foreman, all right, had a great week last week, scored 3 touchdowns in his first game back, or his first game with meaningful action, right? You'd think, hey, he's going to be in another great spot for them to lean on him. Tyson Bagent's going to use him a lot at the goal line. And I think Dante Foreman is going to lay a huge goose egg, okay? I'm not an expert, but I will tell you this from experience. This guy will have a blow-up game, and then he'll totally let you down. So if you put him in your lineups, don't be surprised if he gets you like 3 or 4 points. Kind of in the same theme as Darrell Henderson. Has a great game, then totally lets you down. So they're playing the Chargers. If you start Dante Foreman, good luck. I hope he does well for you, but I wouldn't bank on it.
Does that hurt you as like his namesake or relative, distant cousin, something like that?
So I don't think we are related. But as far as the namesake goes, he did help me out a couple games last year. But every time I started him, he didn't show up. And so I don't know what the rhyme or reason is, but he's just not dependable. He is a boom or bust kind of guy. Depending on how the game script goes, he might not get any meaningful touches in an area where he can score. So I hope Bagent plays well. I hope the Bears do well. I wouldn't expect too much out of Dante Foreman because he doesn't typically string 2 good performances together, back to back. So he's another sit of the week, and I know that's a contrarian opinion there. And if I end up being wrong,
I mean,
if I end up being wrong, I'll have Alex drink a beer out of a shoe next week.
No, you got to drink the beer out of the shoe.
Oh, I thought it was you drink the beer out of the shoe. Let's bank on it. Beer out of a shoe for Alex if Dante Foreman scores more than 2 touchdowns.
No, out of a shoe, beer out of a shoe. Okay, sure, whatever. I'll do
shoe.
Beer out of a shoe. Sure.
Shoe beer.
Okay, so what is it? If your namesake scores 2 touchdowns, wait, what?
I will say if Dante
Why don't we
Foreman
just do
scores.
Yeah, let's do 3
if he
touchdowns.
scores more than 12 fantasy points, Alex is drinking a beer out of a shoe.
14.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
If he scores more than 14 points,
okay,
Alex is drinking a beer
I'm picking the shoe
out of a shoe.
Yeah, I'm picking the shoe.
You're picking the shoe, and you're picking the beer.
And I'll pick the beer, exactly.
It's going to be tough if I have to see you do that. It's going to hurt me. So I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Okay, Dave. Any injuries that you want to update us on?
Zach Ertz is on the IR with a quad injury. He's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks.
Ooh.
So if you have Zach Ertz on your team, just slide him over to the IR spot. A lot of leagues allow you to do that. Don't just drop him straight up because he might come back this season. So it's worth holding on to him. But for now, you're going to have to find another starter for the tight end spot. And tight end, it's not just this year, it's every year. Tight ends are hard to find a producer outside of the Kelseys and the Andrews. It's really inconsistent. You might find a gem occasionally like a Jonnu Smith, but good luck.
Yeah, I think your mom was talking about tight ends recently, wasn't she?
I don't know how often. Well, how would you have known that?
Well,
Did you talk to my mom?
Well, I thought she called in.
I don't remember that. When is she calling?
Mrs. Foreman, how you doing, Mrs. Foreman? It's you again.
How did you
Okay.
get her? How did she get this number?
How did she get the number? I don't know, Dave, but we're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and we don't want your mom calling back anymore, okay? We just don't like that. That's not good. She just seems a little, like, overprotective.
So gave you two somewhat controversial sits in Daryl Henderson and Dante Foreman, and so we'll see what happens there. But as far as a start of the week, surprising rookie performances out of C.J. Stroud has been by far and away the best rookie quarterback this year, and he's actually playing against another rookie quarterback in Bryce Young with the Panthers. So I think C.J. Stroud is going to have a great game. I think he's going to try to show the Panthers, hey, you probably should have drafted me. Look how great I'm doing. He's also going to have some weapons back. He's going to have Nathaniel Tank Dell back from a concussion. So he's got lots of weapons with Nico Collins. He's got Dalton Schultz. He's got Nate, Tank Dell. I think C.J. Stroud is going to put up at least 3 touchdowns, maybe 250, 300 yards. So if you've got him on your team, I'd say he should be in your starting lineup for sure.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, let's go. I love that. You know what I really liked about your, it wasn't even a tip for the day, or it wasn't even a tip for any moms out there, but I thought it was just a really great tip. Ertz he's injured and he's going on the IR, and so you say, make sure you put him on the IR. And I feel like the injuries that you give us, they're good injury updates because it's guys who are going on the IR, and if they're just dinged up for a week here and there, then it's like, okay, that's not really pertinent to know, but if they're going on the IR, that's really valuable to know.
I feel like this year there's been a lot more teams putting players on the IR, on the short-term IR, and if your league allows it, yeah, definitely utilize that spot. I'm in a couple leagues where there's 2 IR spots. Here's another little tip.
Could this be construed as a tip for any moms? And if so, like which moms? Not my mom. She's had too many tips. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But other moms.
Here is a tip for your mom. Here is a tip for the moms out there. If there is a player as a free agent, okay, and they're on the IR, you should be able to pick them up and immediately slide them into your IR spot and just hold out for a couple weeks. And then when they come back, you're going to have to drop somebody, but at least it gives you some time to figure out your roster and you get a head start on picking that player up. Like an example would be a guy like Kyler Murray.
Oh.
He's been on IR all season. He is designated to return. He's back at practice. But a couple weeks ago, that would have been the time to pick him up because he's going to come back and be the starter.
Well,
he should be a great option.
Dave.
And not many people would have him on their team because he's injured. So pick him up early and put him right into your IR spot.
Dave, it's
free rolling.
Dave, it's like you're a soothsayer because you know what? That's exactly what I did. I picked him up and I put him on my IR.
Did?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So I don't know, if you were just peeping at my team, trying to do a little scouting on who I got, but I saw Kyler Murray was available and I thought, well, I only had one quarterback at that point, and that's Hurts because I just traded away Purdy. And so I thought, well, I need a quarterback. And I saw he was injured. I thought I could slide him into the IR, and I did.
Yeah. Now, I want to say a lot of leagues probably didn't have an IR spot like 3 or 4 years ago. And I think after COVID and during COVID, that's when it became more commonplace for a league to have an IR spot. Did you play fantasy football during COVID?
I did not, no. Nope.
That was a nightmare because at any given moment, your player might be designated as a COVID tag player, and you didn't want to drop them, so they created like a COVID IR spot. And then I think more leagues are like, you know what, we should always just have IR spots now, because before you'd either have to carry him on your active roster or you'd have to make the tough decision of dropping him, and now you can just slip him in the IR spot and just wait 4 weeks and hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I've said before, I'm a huge NBA fan, and during that season when they came back, guys were going out every other day. Every day there'd be like 13 guys out on a Tuesday, like 14 guys out on a Wednesday. So I didn't know who half those players were. So very relatable. I'm sure playing during fantasy football during COVID was just a total crapshoot and just really a game of luck at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely, if you didn't have the flexibility of being able to pick up players or shuffle them around, you'd have lots of incomplete rosters, which nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. So I got Kyler Murray, and I also picked up Gardner Minshew, and he's also now just my backup if I need him. But I don't want to talk.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. You're gonna have to tell me, how many quarterbacks do you have right now?
Well, since the commissioner, all hail the commissioner, approved my trade today, that I got rid of Darnold and Chark, and I picked up Jonnu Smith. So I had four, but it was more of like asset collection. I guess that's my tip for any moms out there. Then I'm just collecting assets, and I know that somebody might want to trade for these dudes at some point. So that's why I picked up Darnold again, and I think it's nice to have Minshew. He put up 34 points last week, and Richardson's not coming back this year, so I got another starting quarterback out there.
So you have Kyler Murray, you have Gardner Minshew, and you also have as your third quarterback then?
Hurts. Jalen Hurts.
You have Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not bad to collect assets and hope to use them as trade bait. I don't think you're going to be able to get much if you traded Gardner Minshew.
No.
But I'd wait a couple weeks and see what happens with Kyler Murray. But just keep in mind there is going to be a trade deadline coming up in like the next 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah, good to know. Dave, think we got to move on. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about obscure rules of the NFL. Obscure rules of the NFL. Obscure rules of the NFL. Obscure rules of the NFL.
Can't you just use the echo effect instead of...
Dave, they based it off of something, so I'm not sure if you knew. Okay, I'm going to bring you something new today. This is it's not brand new to me. It sure seems like it's brand new to the officiating crew. I think maybe this is more geared for the officiating crew. Dave, today I'm going to bring you an NFL official rule. It's called offensive holding. It's Rule 12 in Section 1, Article 3. It's incredible how many missed calls there are. A little known rule that the refs are still trying to pick up on. The rule summary. So, you're probably wondering what this offensive hold is, right? You must be asking yourself, right? Well, let me tell you, Dave, it is, quote, use his hands or arms to materially restrict an opponent or alter the defender's path or angle of pursuit. It is a foul regardless of whether the blocker's hands are inside or outside the frame of the defender's body. Material restrictions include, but are not limited to, 1. Grabbing or tackling an opponent. 2. Hooking, jerking, twisting, or turning him. Or 3. Pulling him to the ground.
The Ravens are holding the lines every freaking time. It is war! It is war! You're going down, Ravens! You're going down! You're going down, Ravens! You're going down, Ravens! It's war!
Dave, I swear, this must be something new because I don't see refs calling this at all. I don't know if they just implemented this like last year or the year before. Was this around during COVID?
It's one of those calls that's very subjective.
Yeah,
and not all refs are gonna call it consistently. So I have heard of it before. It's something that typically does not get called on behalf of somebody like an Aiden Hutchinson, for example.
Oh, that's so funny that you actually mentioned Aiden Hutchinson.
Let me ask this: wouldn't the coaches want to point something like that out to the refs as it happens? Do you think the refs are more likely to keep their eyes peeled for that if they're called out on it, or do you think they're just going to disregard it regardless?
Something's telling me that the Campbell coaching staff is not a silent bunch.
I think if it's something that you feel like the refs aren't calling enough, it's possible they don't know about that rule. I would say you might want to write a letter to the commissioner just to let him know.
You know what? I think that's a really good idea, actually. Yeah, let's write him a letter to the commissioner. Dear Mr. Commissioner. I love it, Dave. I love it.
So It would be nice if judgment calls were up for a review, and if they open that up one day, that'd be great. That would solve a lot of issues with pass interference, phantom calls, unsportsmanlike or roughing the passer type calls, because I don't believe right now that those are reviewable, and a lot of those are spur of the moment, subjective calls that can be interpreted wrong. Why can't you go back and look at the tape and say, hey, yeah, that's actually not a foul after all?
Yeah, you
Or,
mean
hey,
in like
yeah, we missed that hold. We missed that hold there.
like instant replay? You mean?
There should be yes, you should be able to review that kind of thing.
I
It'd be
agree.
nice if they had a limited number of challenges the team could do per game to say, look, let's highlight this. Let's get it on camera. You look at this play right now, ref, and you tell me that that's not a hold. I don't think the ref's going to be able to say, yeah, that's not a hold. They're going to overturn it probably.
So what I don't understand is if there are 6 refs on the field and some of them are doing different things, they're not all eyes on the line of scrimmage. Well, if they're not seeing it, then what are these guys on TV doing? Like, if I'm sitting there watching it on TV and it's clear as day and I see somebody grab Hutch around the jersey and just like hold him back, and Hutch is like, oh, I can't get around because he's tearing at my jersey, then, I mean, if I'm seeing it on TV, don't you think somebody in, like, the Central Command Center should be seeing it on TV, and then they can whistle it in right then and say, hey, there's a penalty, and then the head judge is like, hey, penalty on 79, holding, 10-yard penalty. I mean, couldn't that be a thing?
I wonder if that would just slow down the game so much, because there's probably a hold on every single play. Right?
It would. Right, but it's like you've got to retrain the rules of what the game are. Like if it's this obvious and this blatant, then it's what are we even doing? Why is it a rule? Like if you said it's subjective, it is subjective, but that's what they try to do with the rules is they try to like exactly define what it is. So when they see it, then they can call it.
All right. Well, speaking of calling it, what I think a good solution would be is, did you ever watch something like either America's Got Talent or what was the singing competition that like Kelly Clarkson won? American Idol?
Yeah, American Idol, yeah.
I think so. So votes were based on people calling in for their favorite contestant, right? So instead of spending the money on extra refs, why don't they just have a command center where fans can call in and report a hold? And then, depending on how many calls come in, if you hit a certain meter, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we just got 20,000 calls. That's a hold. And then, yeah, it might slow down the game a little bit, but it would definitely increase fan interaction. Or if every single fan in the stands had a little button, a little hold button, they could beep like a life alert, like a hold alert. That way the refs could be like, oh, yeah, we missed that one. Everyone's telling us.
Dave, I think you're talking about democracy.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing, no. I mean, I love it. I think that's a great idea. I think that's that's a $10 idea, don't you think?
Not even that.
What? Not even that. Not even $10? Okay, Dave, we got to start wrapping this baby up because we've been on here. We were having so much fun. We're just losing track of time. So, to put a bow on it, come on, refs. Can you just pull your heads out of your asses? Just call it. When you see it, when they're held, just throw a flag. It's going to slow the game down, sure, but then they'll stop doing it. Come on, let's just be honest here. Dave, we got to move on. Let's get into a little-known segment that we got around here called Wreckless Speculation. Dave, I'm going to speculate recklessly right now. You ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
Okay. My speculation that is highly reckless right now is that Deshaun Watson is going to be the most liked NFL star by the end of the year.
I don't see that happening. I think if Deshaun Watson single-handedly ended the war in Ukraine, I still don't think he'd be the most liked NFL player. But yeah, I think that's that's definitely reckless speculation. At least it's not damaging to his character, though.
Dave, I think you're onto something, though. What would it take to actually make him the most liked NFL star? Would it be actually ending the war in Ukraine?
I don't think it's possible for him to be the most liked star. I don't think people are ever going to forget.
Dave, 100%. And all I'm saying is if he ended the war in the Middle East, then would he be? He's never gonna be my most liked. Let's just I think we both can say that. But Americans are a fickle beast.
My reckless speculation is even if you could find a way to end the war in Ukraine and find peace in the Middle East, he still would not be the most likable NFL star.
Dave, I think that's actually a pretty good take right there. I think you're onto something. It would take probably absolutely nothing because he's a dirtball. I mean, he's a dirtball, and that's what we learned through the whole process.
I'll go as far as say he might not even be the most liked player on the Browns if he did that.
Yeah, if he did that, right.
I think if he accomplished that, he still wouldn't be the most popular player on the Browns.
Yeah.
If he did that, he might not be the most popular quarterback that plays for the Browns.
Yeah. No, that could be true. I think it's always going to be Myles Garrett, right? I think people just have a...
I think people kind of forgot about what happened with Myles Garrett a couple years back. So
I might be one of them.
People do forget because he doesn't have as much of a history of being a dirtball. So, yeah, I mean, that's good reckless speculation. Deshaun Watson, you think he's going to be the most likable?
No, Dave, that's the whole
player.
bit. It's reckless speculation. I'm not. I'm just telling you
reckless.
It's pretty reckless. I do not condone this message.
So you're saying by the end of the season, this is going to be something we can circle back to.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back on it. Okay, Dave. Well, that about wraps it up. You know what? Actually, before we leave, don't you have to ask a certain someone a very special something?
Yeah, we actually have another installment of an ongoing segment we like to call Dear Mr. Commissioner. So why don't you go ahead and play that next one?
All right, Dave. Let's see what we got. We'll see you on the other side. Enjoy.
Dear Mr. Commissioner, why do they call it pass interference? I think they should call it catch interference instead. Anyway, I have to go mow the lawn. Bye-bye.
Catch interference, Dave. I love it. Where do you come up with this stuff?
I'm an idea man. I think of lots of random scenarios, and I think it's a good point, right? I don't know if anyone ever really thinks about the fact that you're not really interfering with the pass; you're interfering with them catching it.
Yeah.
So they could call it reception interference too.
Yeah, but then you might get that confused with the cell phone, so it might be a little confusing.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't want to.
We'll see. Will it'd be great to get footage of the commissioner opening these letters.
When the commissioner opens these letters, of course. These will be the first thing he probably implements, I would imagine, after he cashes in his $700 billion.
I would think so.
Thank you, Roger Goodell. Okay, Dave. Well, that about wraps it up. Oh, you know what? We got a new sponsor. I just want to let you know that we got a new sponsor, and it is brought to you by the film Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So it's a great movie. We're really honored to be brought to you by that film, and we can't really thank you enough for what that means to us. To be affiliated with that film is really beyond words, and I really am speechless. So thank you so much to Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Thank you, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were doing that until just now. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, isn't it?
What does the sponsorship entail exactly?
Oh, it entails just like a likeness and affiliation, and that we can tell people that we're sponsored by the film and that kind of stuff.
Are they giving us any money?
Yeah, they're bankrolling the whole show. No, they're not giving us any money, Dave. Like I said, it's just cool to be associated with just one of the greatest films of all time. That's all we can ask for. So, thank you so much, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. All right, well, this has been another episode of the Fore Birdies podcast. Thanks for joining us, Dave. You got any other shout outs you got to make before we wrap this out?
Shout out to Rashad White. He's putting up about 13 fantasy points right now, and it's still in the third quarter. And I traded him to Alex here, and hopefully Alex started him. And this could be the start of a great epic turnaround comeback story here.
Dave, I appreciate it. You know, you've been lauding me with praise. I really do appreciate that. You yourself, my friend, though, you're doing pretty well yourself. So, you know, congratulations to you. Kudos to you for also doing well. And it's exciting to see that we're both making some good decisions here. And I am starting Rashad White.
Yeah, you got Rasheed Rice and Rashad White. You mix them up and you combine them together. They're different people. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a Pistons fan. What can I say? I love the name Rasheed. So
I just be really careful about how you pronounce their name because I don't want this to affect their interest in joining the show at some point this season. If they look back at the previous episodes and they know that you don't know their name.
Yeah, Rasheed Rice and Rashad White.
Rashad White. Yes.
I got this. This, Dave. Yeah, don't let that put you off. We're open arms.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of
Fore Birdies. Let's go. Okay, we'll see you next time. Have a good night or day or whatever, whenever you're watching this. See ya.